Alright everybody, so we are assembling frames, and this is the way I used to do it, is I would be on the sidewalk, put some pieces together, and I'd put a drop of glue in there, put my bottom board in there, get a hammer and nail, and I'd hold it up on an angle to get that corner, you know, and do this number with a brad nail, hammer it in there. But there's definitely a better way of doing it, so that's what we're going to show you. So ideally, if you have a jig or you have a friend with a jig, you can set these fiberboard things in the slot. There's a you want to make sure these are all facing the same way, but here I'll just show you real quick. There's a slot you can fit this little board in, like that, and this will hold 10 frames at any given time. And you'll notice when you have your sidebars, you've got like a narrow slot and a wider part. This is for the top bar, the narrow one's for the bottom. So right now we're doing the top bars. So we want to put all those in here. And I'm going to show you why we're doing the top bars first in a bit for the jig.
As we get the dogs quietened down a little bit, we'll let Steve demo how to use the jig to assemble multiple frames at a time. Notice that he has the sidebars lined up along each edge with the top of the sidebar facing up initially. This allows you to flip the jig over and attach the bottom bars and then slip the jig off the frames. As he's demoing here, he's going to apply glue to each section of the sidebar, and then he's going to attach or hammer in the top bars that go across the horizontal space. Each one of those will get a nail or a staple to secure it while the glue dries. The recommended nail length on this is about 1 inch to 1.25 inches. Same with a staple. You can certainly drive these in with a hammer, or you can use an air gun. An air gun will speed up the process if you're going to be doing a lot of frame assemblies. But note, you can buy these already assembled and save you a lot of time if you're not into or have the space to do this sort of operation. We're just showing you how it's done if you want to buy these unassembled and save a little money and do a little woodworking. Now let's let Steve continue.
And this is actually called a wedge top bar, so we'll get into that a little more later. Once all your top bars are in place, the ideal situation is, like I said before, have either a nail gun or a staple gun, an air tool, and you can just kind of run through, and you want to get, like I said, one here, unless you're on a staple, at which point you just do one staple per. And then when these are all together, you would then flip your jig, and same as before, you get a drop of glue, get the sides, get the bottom all the way through both sides, and when that's finished, you fit your bottom bars, and you want them snug, but the jig will help keep everything straight for you, and put those down through, and when you finish, and again, if you don't have a power tool, you can get your brads and get a, you can tap them with a mallet and kind of get them square. But then you get get brads and you pound them in if you don't have an air tool. And when you're finished, you're able to pull the jig up off, and then these will fall over, and then you've got your frames like this. And so at that point, so you've nailed in here and you've nailed in the bottom, and then at this point you're going to want to go ahead and on an angle you're going to want to get a nail and go in from your sidebar into your top bar, and that will give you strength when you go to pull your bar out of the frame. Because if you just have nails in here and you go to pull it up out, what can happen is the nail can actually pull up out of your sidebar over time, and then you have a frame that falls apart like this while you're, it's got comb and honey and it's a mess. So when you have a nail on the side to secure it, it'll hold it together and your frames will last a lot longer. So that's the way you want to assemble your frames.